The great hall of the council was silent. Its walls were tall, carved with marks of 1,000 battles. Shadows of old banners hung above, moving softly as if they remembered wars of the past. The alien council sat in a circle, their glowing eyes fixed on the center of the chamber. There a single figure stood alone. It was the human. He was not tall compared to the others. His body looked weak beside the armored aliens who had survived countless wars. His hair was messy, his clothes simple, and yet he stood without fear. His hands were by his side, relaxed as if he had nothing to prove. But everyone's attention was drawn to one thing. On his finger rested a small silver ring. The elder alien woman narrowed her eyes. She had lived for centuries. Her skin was old and marked with the lines of time. Her voice, when it finally spoke, was deep and heavy, a sound that made even the youngest aliens bow their heads. "Step forward, human," she said. The man obeyed. His boots clicked on the stone floor as he moved closer to the council. Around him, alien guards shifted their weapons, ready for any threat, yet the human's calm face showed no worry. He did not even look at the soldiers. His eyes were only on the elder woman. She stared at him for a long time. She had seen humans before. They were fast learners, brave fighters, but also fragile, emotional and reckless. Many times she had seen their kind break under the weight of war. But this one was strange. There was something in the way he carried himself, something that made even silence feel heavy. Her gaze dropped again to the ring. It was so small. No weapon, no hidden power, just a circle of metal, shining faintly under the lights of the chamber. But to her eyes it was dangerous because she knew what such a symbol once meant, long ago, before her own people abandoned it. The council members whispered to each other. Some laughed quietly. "Is this human serious?" One alien muttered. "He comes to speak for his people and he wears a ring?" Another scoffed. "Perhaps it is a trick, a weapon in disguise," a third suggested. But the elder woman raised her hand, and the whispers died instantly. Her voice cut through the air. "Human, do you understand what you carry? Do you know the meaning of that circle on your hand?" The human lifted his gaze, but he did not answer yet. Instead, he let the silence stretch. The council shifted uncomfortably. Even the guards exchanged nervous looks. The elder woman leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "Tell me, are you mocking us or do you come here without knowledge of our history?" The man finally spoke. His voice was calm, steady, and carried without effort across the chamber. "It is only a ring," he said, "but it is more than that." The words confused many in the hall. Whispers rose again. The elder woman's eyes narrowed even further. She felt the weight of his tone. There was no arrogance, no fear, no weakness, only certainty. "Explain yourself," she demanded. The human looked down at the ring. For a moment his face softened, as if a memory touched his heart. Then he looked back at her, his eyes clear. "You ask why I wear it. To me this ring is not a weapon. It is not for war. It is for something else." The elder woman frowned. Her long fingers tightened on her staff. Her mind raced back to ancient times when her people still valued bonds beyond power. It was a memory she thought long buried. The silence in the room grew heavier. Every alien waited for his next words. The human did not rush. He stood in the center of the council, a small figure surrounded by giants, yet he seemed unshaken. He raised his hand slightly, letting the light reflect on the silver ring. "This ring," he said slowly, "is a promise." The elder alien woman felt a strange chill. Her heart, which had not moved in centuries, beat harder in her chest. She did not know why. Something about his simple words felt heavier than any weapon. The council was restless now. Some aliens scoffed at the answer, calling it foolish. Others stayed silent, their faces uncertain. But the elder woman could not look away from the human. She thought, "Why does this weak creature stand so firm? Why does such a small symbol shake me?" Her voice lowered, almost a whisper, but the whole chamber heard it. "A promise. For what? The human's lips curved into a faint smile, but his answer did not come yet. He let the question linger in the air, filling the hall with suspense, and in that moment every being in the chamber leaned forward, waiting. The chamber grew colder after the human's last words. His voice still echoed in the ears of the council, but silence soon returned. Only the faint hum of the glowing walls filled the emptiness. The elder alien woman stared at him without blinking. Her eyes were sharp, glowing like fire in the dark. Her heart had not been moved for centuries, but now it beat in a rhythm she could not control. Still, she hid her feelings well. "You say it is a promise," she said slowly. "But you do not explain. Do you think the council will accept such childish talk? Do you believe this hall was built to listen to human games?" The aliens around her laughed. Some shook their heads. Others clicked their sharp teeth in mocking smiles. "He is weak," one alien whispered. "He plays with words," another said. "A promise, foolish," muttered a third. The guards by the walls stepped forward, their weapons flashing with light. They did not raise them yet, but their movements were enough to remind the human of his place. Still, he did not flinch. The elder woman leaned, bored. Her voice was heavier now, like thunder rolling across a mountain. "Human, do you even know what your little circle of metal means to us? To my people?" The human tilted his head slightly. His calm eyes showed no fear. "Maybe," he said. "Maybe not, but I know what it means to me." The words hit the chamber like a quiet strike. Not loud, but strong enough to make even the proudest warriors feel uneasy. The elder woman narrowed her eyes. "Your kind is reckless. You speak of things you do not understand. You wear a symbol that once held power among my people, power we abandoned long ago. Do you dare to mock us with it?" The council erupted in whispers again. Some said the human was a spy. Some said he was a fool. Others believed he was testing their patience. But the human only stood there, still and calm, as if their anger was nothing more than wind blowing around him. The elder woman's voice rose, filled with both anger and curiosity. "Do you not see? This symbol you wear, it was once sacred to us, long before your kind walked among the stars. But it brought weakness. It led to betrayal. It destroyed unity. We cast it away to survive. And now you bring it here, in front of me, as if it still has meaning." Her words thundered in the hall. Even the banners on the walls seemed to tremble. The human finally raised his hand. The silver ring caught the light, shining brighter than before. His eyes did not leave hers. "You call it weakness," he said, "but I call it strength." The council froze. For the first time, his voice carried not just calm, but weight. A simple human, standing among giants, yet his words cut sharper than any blade. The elder woman frowned. Her mind, long hardened by centuries of war, was suddenly filled with questions. Why did this human not bow? Why did he not break under pressure? Why did he wear that ring with such pride? Her doubts grew stronger. She remembered times long ago when her people still shared bonds beyond war and conquest. Times when the circle of metal meant unity, not weakness. She had buried those memories, but now this fragile creature had pulled them back. One of the council members shouted, breaking the silence. "Elder, let us cast him out. He is unworthy. His words insult us." Another agreed. "He plays tricks. This is a human game. They are clever but weak. Crush him before he spreads lies." The elder woman did not move. She kept her eyes on the human, searching for cracks in his calm face. But there were none. He stood steady, as if he carried something invisible, something stronger than all their weapons combined. Her voice softened, though it still carried across the hall. "Why? Why do you stand so firm with such a small thing? Why does a fragile human believe a promise can matter in this galaxy of war?" The human's lips curved in the faintest smile. He answered simply, "Because it is the only thing that can survive when everything else is gone." The words struck her like a hidden blade. She felt the weight of centuries pressing on her shoulders. She remembered faces long lost, bonds broken, and a past her people tried to forget. The council was restless. Some growled in anger. Others stayed silent, their eyes flicking between the elder woman and the human. The elder alien's hand tightened on her staff. For the first time in hundreds of years, she felt doubt, not in him, but in herself. She thought, could it be true? Could something as simple as a promise outlast the power we worship? The ring glowed again under the chamber lights, as if it carried its own quiet answer. And though she did not show it deep inside, the elder alien woman trembled. The council chamber was thick with silence. Every alien in the room watched the human, waiting for him to stumble, to fall, to show fear. But he stood steady, his hand lifted slightly, the small silver ring catching the faint glow of the chamber lights. The elder alien woman leaned forward. Her eyes burned with curiosity and doubt. She had heard warriors shout, emperors command, and generals boast. But this human spoke with calm, and that calm was heavier than any roar. Her voice broke the silence, sharp and pressing. Then tell us, human, what is this promise you speak? Of what gives you such boldness to stand in this hall without fear? Explain yourself, or you will not leave this place alive. The alien guards shifted, their weapons humming with quiet energy. A single word from the elder, and the human's life would end. Still, he did not blink. He looked at the council, then back at the elder woman, and finally down at the ring on his finger. When he spoke, his voice was soft, but every ear caught it. This ring is not power. It is not magic. It is a bond. A bond between two souls who choose to stand together, no matter what the universe throws at them. The word stirred the chamber. Some aliens scoffed, their voices dripping with scorn. Child's talk, one muttered. Worthless, spat another. Love? Loyalty? These are fragile things, sneered a third, but others were silent, their expressions harder to read. The elder alien's eyes narrowed. She had heard these words before, long ago when her kind still honored such bonds. But to her they had been broken, buried in betrayal. She struck the floor with her staff, and the sound echoed like thunder. Do you not understand? She said, her voice rising. Promises fade, bonds break, loyalty dies. We learned this through blood and fire. That is why we abandon such illusions. That is why we survive. The human's gaze did not waver. He stepped closer to the center, his boots clicking against the stone. His voice grew stronger. You call it weakness because you lost it. You gave it up. But that is why you fear it now. Because deep inside you remember what it was like to believe in something beyond yourself. The chamber shook with whispers. The council members looked uneasy. The elder alien woman's chest tightened, though she tried to hide it. His words stabbed at her like sharp blades, reopening wounds she thought long healed. The human raised, his hand again showing the ring. His eyes were clear, steady, unshaken. This ring is a promise to someone I love. No matter the distance, no matter the danger, no matter how dark the galaxy becomes, I will not break this bond. It is not about power. It is about standing when everything else falls. The elder woman's breath caught for a moment. Her hand tightened on her staff. She remembered her own bond long ago, a bond she had buried after betrayal tore her people apart. She remembered the circle of metal once worn by her hand, now lost to dust. Her voice trembled slightly, though few noticed. You believe such a thing can outlast war? Outlast death? The human's answer was quiet, but it shook the room. Yes. The word was simple. Too simple. Yet it carried a weight the aliens could not explain. The council grew restless again. Some shouted that he lied, that humans were arrogant. Others fell silent, troubled by the firmness in his tone. The elder alien woman stared at him, her eyes burning. She wanted to crush his words, to prove him wrong, to remind him of the cruelty of the universe. But she could not. Because deep inside, part of her wanted to believe him. The human lowered his hand, but his words kept flowing, calm and sharp as a blade. You fear this symbol because you once had it. You fear it because you lost it. But we, humans, hold it still. That is why we endure. Not because we are the strongest, not because we are the smartest, but because we choose to keep our promises even when the stars burn out. The chamber went still. Even the banners above seemed frozen in time. For the first time, the elder alien woman could not answer. Her lips parted, but no words came. The ring on the human's hand glowed faintly as if the universe itself had chosen to stand beside him. She whispered, almost too soft to hear. A promise, as strength. The human's eyes met hers. He said nothing more. He did not need to. The silence that followed carried his answer louder than any speech. The elder alien woman, leader of countless battles, unbroken for centuries, sat frozen in doubt. Her heart shook, not from fear of the human, but from the truth she could not deny. And in that moment the chamber no longer felt like her throne. It felt like a battlefield she was losing. The chamber felt colder now, not because of the stone walls or the shadows above, but because of the silence that followed the human's words. A silence so heavy it pressed on every chest, as if the air itself had turned into stone. The elder alien woman gripped her staff tighter. For centuries she had led her people, never shaken, never broken. She had seen empires fall, stars die, and whole species beg for mercy, yet never had. A single word pierced her armor as deeply as the humans. We keep our promises even when the stars burn out. Those words echoed inside her like an old memory. She wanted to dismiss them, to crush them with logic and anger, but they clung to her heart. Her mind drifted back to a time long ago. She remembered another hall, filled with light instead of shadows. She remembered wearing her own ring, a circle of metal that bound her to someone she once trusted with her soul. She remembered the vow. Never to break, never to leave, never to forget. But that vow had shattered. Betrayal came. Her people chose survival over loyalty. Bonds were broken, trust turned to dust, and the rings of her kind were thrown into the fire. From that day she taught herself that promises were lies, that bonds were weakness. It was the only way she could endure the centuries of war that followed. Yet now, this fragile creature stood before her, holding the very symbol she had buried. The council began to stir again, but their voices were faint compared to the storm inside her. Some demanded the human's execution. Others argued to dismiss him as a fool, but none of their words reached her. She could only see the ring. Her voice finally broke the silence, though it was softer than before, carrying a tremor she had not allowed in centuries. Human, do you truly believe this? Do you truly think a promise can outlast death itself? The human did not hesitate. His eyes met hers, steady and calm. Yes, he said simply. Her breath caught. Her hand trembled slightly against her staff. Around her, the council noticed, but none dared speak of it. She studied his face, looking for cracks, for doubt, for weakness, but there was nothing. He was not boasting. He was not pretending. He was not afraid. He believed, and that belief was stronger than steel. Her chest ached. She remembered the one she had lost, the promise broken not by choice, but by fear. She had abandoned it, and with it part of her own soul. For centuries she told herself it was the right decision, but now, staring at this human, she wondered if it had been a mistake. The banners above moved softly, as though stirred by an unseen wind. The silver ring glowed faintly, its light pure and unyielding. The elder alien woman's voice dropped to a whisper, but in the silence of the chamber it carried like thunder. You fight with something greater than war. The council fell silent. Every alien turned to her in shock. This was not the voice of a leader who dismissed weakness. This was the voice of someone shaken, someone seeing truth she had long buried. The human bowed his head slightly, not in arrogance but in respect. He did not need to answer her. She had already spoken the truth aloud. For a long moment, time itself seemed to pause. The elder alien sat frozen on her throne, staring at the human with eyes that no longer glowed with pure fire, but with something else. Fear, yes, but also respect. She thought, if one human carries such strength, what will happen when more of them come? What will happen when their promises stretch across the stars? The thought made her shiver, not from weakness, but from realization. Humanity was not to be feared for their weapons nor for their technology. They were to be feared because of something the galaxy had long forgotten, something no empire could destroy. The human lowered his hand, but the echo of his words remained, filling the chamber, burning in her heart. She felt as if the past had risen from the ashes to confront her, and for the first time in centuries the elder alien woman did not feel like the strongest being in the room. She felt small. She felt uncertain. She felt human. The council waited for her command, their eyes full of confusion. Would she crush the human or would she allow him to live? But she gave no order. She only sat there staring, her thoughts a storm. The chamber's silence stretched on, but it was no longer empty. It was alive, heavy with the weight of revelation. The human had spoken little, yet he had broken centuries of armor with nothing more than a promise. And deep inside, though she would never admit it aloud, the elder alien woman trembled. The elder alien woman sat frozen on her throne. Her staff trembled slightly in her hand, though she tried to hide it. The council, who had always looked to her for strength, now shifted uneasily. They had seen their leader crush empires with words, yet now she sat silent before a single human. The human had not moved since his answer. His hand rested at his side again, the small silver ring glinting faintly. He did not press further, did not boast, did not demand victory. He simply waited, calm and steady, as though he knew the weight of his words still filled the chamber. The silence stretched too long, until one of the council members broke it with a harsh voice. "Elder, he is dangerous, not because of weapons, but because of lies. He seeks to twist us with false hope. We must destroy him now before his poison spreads." Another shouted, "Humans are clever tricksters. He wears a symbol of betrayal and dares to call it strength. End this." But their voices only made the elder woman's thoughts heavier. She could not dismiss the human so easily. She could not deny the power in his belief. His words still echoed in her chest, pulling at something she thought was long dead. Her eyes turned back to him. "Do you understand what you have done here, human? You have spoken a truth that my people abandoned long ago. If I allow your words to remain, they will spread like fire. If I silence you, they will burn inside me. Either way, you have shaken this council." The human's lips curved into a faint smile, not of pride, but of understanding. "It was never about shaking you. It was only about standing by my promise." Her chest ached again. She hated the feeling, this weakness, this doubt. Yet she also felt something else. Envy. She envied the human's clarity, his unbroken bond, his ability to carry such strength in something so small. The guards stepped forward, weapons ready. Their movements were sharp, their eyes hungry for command. But the elder woman raised her hand, stopping them. "No," she said firmly. The council erupted in chaos. "No? Elder, he insults us," one cried. "He mocks our history," shouted another. But her voice cut through them all. Silence. The chamber froze again. The elder's eyes stayed on the human. She studied him the way she once studied great generals searching for weakness. Yet the more she looked, the more she saw only certainty. "You fight without weapons," she said slowly. "You carry no army, no technology, no shield. And yet, you stand before us without fear. Why?" The human's answer came without hesitation. "Because fear is not greater than love. Fear ends when courage begins. And courage begins when you refuse to break your promise." The words were simple, yet they struck her like lightning. The chamber went still, so still that even the hum, of alien machinery seemed to fade. The elder woman leaned back slowly, her thoughts heavy. She realized something that unsettled her more than any war ever had. This human was not lying. He was not twisting words. He was not playing a game. He believed. And belief, she now understood, was a weapon far stronger than any blade. Her people had abandoned it long ago, and that abandonment had left them hollow. For the first time, she wondered if her people had truly survived, or if they had only endured as empty shells. Her hand trembled slightly on her staff again. She tightened her grip to hide it. But inside, she knew, she was shaken to her very core. The council members continued to argue, their voices clashing in anger and fear. But their words no longer mattered to her. She only heard the human's steady voice echoing in her mind. We keep our promises even when the stars burn out. Her gaze dropped again to the silver ring, a small, fragile circle of metal. Yet now she saw it not as weakness, but as a strength she had lost long ago. She whispered softly, almost to herself, though the human heard it clearly. Perhaps it is we who are weak. The chamber fell silent again. Every alien turned to her in shock. No one had ever heard their elder speak such words. The human bowed his head once more, respectful, patient. He did not push further. He had already won, though he sought no victory. And in that moment, the elder alien woman knew the truth. This encounter would change the future. Humanity had brought something back into the galaxy that had been forgotten. Not technology, not power, but belief. And belief, she realized, could not be destroyed. The council chamber had never felt so unsteady. It was not the walls, not the air, not the banners above. It was the silence, a silence born not from order but from doubt. The elder alien woman sat motionless on her throne, her staff resting heavily against her palm. For centuries her voice had commanded armies. Her word was law, her decisions final. But now even she hesitated. A single human had planted a question inside her heart, and that question would not leave. The other council members argued louder, their voices filling the chamber like clashing steel. "He is a danger," one cried. "His words spread weakness," shouted another. "Execute him before his poison infects us all." The guards gripped their weapons, waiting for the elder's command. One single order, and the human would be gone forever. But she did not speak. Instead, she looked at him again. The human stood calm, steady, the faint glow of his silver ring reflecting in the alien lights. He was small, fragile, nothing compared to the giants around him. Yet none of them could match the weight of his presence. The elder woman's thoughts spun like a storm. We cast away bonds for survival. We became strong by abandoning weakness, and yet, why does this human carrying only a promise stand stronger than all of us combined? Her chest ached again. Doubt, an old enemy she thought she had killed long, ego had returned. Finally, her voice cut through the noise. Enough. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to her. She rose slowly from her throne, her tall frame towering over the others. Her shadow stretched across the chamber floor, reaching the human who still stood in the center. Her eyes burned into him. "You have shaken me, human. You have forced me to remember things I buried long ago. But I am not a fool. A single promise cannot rule the stars. A single bond cannot hold an empire. Tell me, what makes you believe humanity can survive in this galaxy when so many stronger races have fallen?" The human raised his head. His eyes were calm, yet fierce. Because strength fades, weapons break, empires fall. But promises are carried forward. A parent to a child, a lover to another, a soldier to his people. It does not die with one person. It grows. It becomes more than one life. His words were simple, yet they struck like thunder. The council stirred, uneasily. Some scoffed, but others looked uncertain. The elder woman's jaw tightened. This is the shift, she realized. Not in weapons, not in armies, but in belief. His words will spread. If not today, then tomorrow. If not to me, then to others. 4. The first time in her long life she felt power slipping from her grasp. Not because someone had taken it, but because she no longer believed as strongly as she once did. The foundation of her rule, built on strength and fear, now trembled beneath her. Her eyes softened, though only for a moment. "You speak of promises as if they are eternal," she said. "But what if they are broken? What if betrayal comes?" The human did not hesitate. Then another promise is made. And another, and another. Even when broken, promises inspire more. They outlast betrayal. That is why we survive. Not because we are unbreakable, but because we refuse to stop trying. The elder alien staff shook in her hand. The chamber was silent once more. Her people had built their empire on the belief that betrayal ends everything. That once trust is broken, it can never be rebuilt. That only strength and control could hold the galaxy together. But this human offered another truth, one she could not dismiss. Perhaps betrayal did not end everything. Perhaps it only tested whether promises were worth keeping. She lowered her gaze, her voice softer, almost weary. "You fight with something I thought long dead, and now I see it, spreading already, not in words but in hearts. My council doubts me because of you. My people will doubt me when they hear of this. You have shifted something greater than power, human. You have shifted belief." The council froze. No one had ever heard their elder admit such a thing. The human bowed his head slightly. He did not smile, did not gloat. His silence was enough. The elder woman looked at him one last time. Her mind was heavy, her heart trembling. She did not know what choice she would make, but she knew one thing for certain. The balance of power had changed. Not with armies, not with weapons, but with a promise. And in that realization, she felt more fear than she had ever felt in war. The council chamber emptied slowly. The echoes of the meeting lingered long after the human had been escorted away. Guards whispered to one another, counselors argued in hushed tones, and even the silent stone walls seemed to hold the weight of what had happened. But the elder alien woman remained seated on her throne, her eyes distant. For centuries she had ruled with certainty. Now doubt filled her like a shadow, and that shadow would not leave. Word traveled fast. It always did. Within days, the story of the human and his ring spread through the council's networks, carried by whispers, records, and frightened reports. At first, many dismissed it as a trick or a lie. But the more it was told, the more it grew. And soon the galaxy began to react. Whispers among the stars on a desert world, merchants from different species gathered in a market. One of them, a tall insectoid trader, leaned close to another and clicked nervously. They say a human stood before the elder council and was not broken. His companion, a scaled reptilian with sharp eyes, hissed in disbelief. "Impossible. Humans are weak." "Then why?" the insectoid whispered. Did the elder woman tremble? The reptilian had no answer. Fear in the armies, in the barracks. Of a warrior race, soldiers trained with weapons that could cut through steel. Their commander barked orders, but even as they fought, their minds were elsewhere. They say the human carried no weapon, one soldier muttered between drills. They say he carried only a circle of metal. A ring, his comrade sneered. What weapon is that? But the first soldier's eyes were troubled. If it can shake the elder, perhaps it is greater than any weapon we know. The commander heard them and scowled, but even he felt unease. For if one human could stand against the elder council, what could many humans do? Doubt in the courts on another world, a queen of a proud empire sat in her crystal palace. She listened as her advisors spoke of trade, war, and conquest. But one advisor's words silenced the room. "Majesty," he said carefully, "news has reached us." A human spoke before the elder council. He claimed that promises are stronger than war. The queen laughed at first, but her laughter faded when she saw the serious faces of her advisors. Even they, hardened by politics, felt the weight of those words. Hope among the weak. In the slums of a forgotten colony, a small group of refugees huddled together. They had no armies, no ships, no power. But when one of them repeated the story of the human, their eyes lit with something they had not felt in years. Hope. If a human can stand before the elder, one whispered, then maybe we too can stand. For the weak and forgotten, the story was not about fear. It was about courage. It was a spark in the dark. The elder's struggle back in her chamber. The elder alien woman sat alone. Her staff leaned against the throne, untouched. She stared at her hands, remembering the ring she once wore centuries ago. The human's words haunted her. Promises outlast the stars. She wanted to dismiss it, to bury it as she always had. But she could not. For even now she felt the ripple of his belief spreading across the galaxy. Not in weapons, not in armies, but in whispers, in hearts, in doubts. Her empire was strong, but it was built on fear. Fear could be broken, but promises could not. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in centuries, she felt something she had long forgotten. Uncertainty. The shift begins. Across the stars, rulers, soldiers, traitors, and refugees all spoke of the same thing. Not of battles or victories, but of a single human and his ring. Some called it madness. Others called it weakness. But many, too many, called it strength. The galaxy, vast and endless, had always bowed to power. But now something new had entered the stage. Not a weapon, not a fleet, not an empire, a promise. And the galaxy did not know how to fight it. The elder alien woman rose from her throne at last. She looked out at the stars through the tall windows of the chamber. Her reflection in the glass looked older, weaker, more uncertain than she had ever seen. She whispered to herself, though the stars seemed to listen, if one human can do this, then humanity is far more dangerous than we imagined. Her words were not of hatred. They were of fear. Fear not of destruction, but of change. And somewhere, far from the council chamber, the human walked on, unaware that he had already begun to reshape the galaxy.